Hi, yesterday the Bank of England began a policy known as quantitative easing. This is a way to increase the money supply. The Bank of England create money on their balance sheet and use this money to buy gilts, and this effectively increases the money supply because banks and financial institutions sell their gilts to the Bank of England, so they get an increase in their cash reserves. And the Bank of England is hoping that this will encourage banks to lend more to consumers and firms. Now, this is quite an unusual step for the economy to take. If you look in textbooks, quantitative easing is often not there because in the post-war period we've never had to deal with this depth of recession. The Bank of England is pursuing quantitative easing for a number of reasons. Firstly, the recession is very deep. It is forecast that GDP could decrease by 4%, and that is a very significant downturn, much steeper than previous recessions where output fell by perhaps 1 or 2% a year. Secondly, conventional monetary policy has reached its limit. In a very short space of time, the Bank of England have cut interest rates from 5% to 0.5%, and it's not really possible to reduce interest rates any further. And the lower interest rates in theory should help boost economic activity, which should make borrowing cheaper and encourage people to spend. But the problem is that although it's cheaper to borrow, banks are unwilling to lend. So it might be cheap to borrow, but the funds are not there. So because conventional monetary policy has failed to stimulate spending and investment, the Bank of England is taking this unconventional approach to increasing the money supply. The Bank of England are also using quantitative easing because fiscal policy has been tried with the government borrowing up to, I think, about £150 billion this year. So they've already cut tax like VAT and increased government spending, and it's hoped that this expansionary fiscal policy will help boost the economy as well. But there's a limit to how much the government could borrow more this year, because if it started to borrow more than £150 billion, markets may start to be nervous about the level of borrowing. Now, the most common criticism of this policy of quantitative easing is that basically printing money creates inflation. And we all know the experiences of Germany and Zimbabwe, who experienced hyperinflation. And in normal times, printing money faster than the rate of growth of GDP does cause inflation. But what's happening now is that the velocity of circulation of money is falling. Because recession is so steep, the number of times money is changing hands is decreasing. So in this situation, you can increase the money supply without causing inflation. And the worry is that without increasing the money supply, we may experience deflation. And deflation will be very damaging for the economy because when prices are falling, it tends to discourage further spending because people wait until it's cheaper in the future. So at the moment, inflation is not a problem because of the depth of the recession, the amount of spare capacity and falling oil prices. So this policy of quantitative easing is unlikely to increase inflation, at least in the short term. The problem may come later when the economy recovers, when the velocity of circulation increases and with this large increase in the money supply. But I think the primary problem at the moment is the deflationary pressures, the extent of the recession. And so I feel the bank is doing the right thing to try to increase the money supply and avoid this great recession turning into a depression.